Myself, Amit Kulkarni, currently working as associate consultant in Bristlecone, a Mahindra group of companies. A good thing which I see in XLR solution is that the feedback loop which runs here. So the model in XLR is such where student is not getting a one-way traffic where he is just learning and going to home. Here, after the student is getting enough data to learn, he is given assignments bi-weekly or sometimes weekly. These assignments are coming up with some deadlines, like the deadlines you meet up in a industry where you work in. Those assignments come with a few set of questions and sometimes with a problem statement also. After getting a check from assignment team and mock interview results, the placement team moves our resume to the respective companies via HR. I got a call from Bristlecone company where the interview was scheduled, and the good things which I can share is that the questions which were asked were quite similar to that of what mock interview was scheduled. So after clearing 2 rounds with Bristlecone, I got selected, and currently I am working there as associate data engineer specifically, and my day-to-day work depends from varying types of tasks, from data quality to data science levels.
Welcome to the dynamic learning hub of XLR at Andheri East. A prime spot conveniently located at just a 5-minute walk from LIC Andheri Metro. In our journey of over a decade, we have proudly trained over 2 lakh students. We have also been recognized by Deloitte, Silicon India, and other accreditation bodies. Experience learning like never before in our spacious and comfortable classrooms. With high-definition projectors and state-of-the-art acoustics in place, we ensure effective learning even to the farthest point in the room. The hybrid mode is a game changer as you can enjoy the benefits of a live classroom from the comfort of your home. Even if you happen to miss any classroom session, you can still attend the same session with the same trainer at the same time at your convenience, maintaining consistency in your learning progress. Want to get started? Join us for a demo or career chat over a cup of coffee at our Andheri branch. XLR. We don't just train, we build careers.
Yes, so the collaboration with XLR was an excellent one. We conducted a Power BI workshop with Advanced Excel over a span of 3 days. The workshop was almost 12 hours long in total. Mr. Karthik, who was an amazing trainer, helped the students understand the concepts deeply. I am sure that the students will be able to apply these concepts in their careers as well as their daily lives.
The trainer, Mr. Karthik, was an excellent person where he explained in very detailed manner on how to give great insights using very complex data sets.
So it was a machine learning workshop. We learned a lot from the course and it was a great experience attending the workshop.
The trainer was very helpful. He had a hands-on approach with his teaching and it was fabulous.
This was a great experience for me. So I would absolutely love it if XLR and its team would come again to our campus and conduct more events like this.
It was a great course and it started from basics and took me to a great extent.
The experience of the workshop was really nice. The feedback from all the students was positive. They understood the concept. The workshop was also practical based with some questions. The experience with XLR was very smooth. They helped us in conducting the workshop smoothly right from the booking of the vendor and deciding the course till the distribution of certificates. In overall, this workshop was a success during our Technical Fest Atmos, and I thank XLR for being a part of it.
Good evening, all. I hope you all doing great. Good evening, Aditya sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, you can start the session, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am. Susmita, ma'am.
Yeah, it's done, sir. You can check now.
Okay, ma'am. Hello, everyone. I think everyone is able to hear me right now. Can I get a quick confirmation from all of you? Are you able to hear me right now properly? Okay, very good. So in the last class, we completed our operators part, and now we cover the basic concepts of Apex programming language. We learn about operators, data types, and different other things. Now, here we are going to talk about the conditional statement in Apex programming language, which we are going to use multiple times. So today we are going to actually talk about the basic, or you can say the conditional statements, and we are going to see how we are going to perform different type of conditional statements here. So let me just share my screen and then we are going to start. Wait a second, just. Are you guys able to see my screen? Let me just share it. Okay, now I think everyone is able to see my screen. Let me just log into the Salesforce and then we just start. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the conditional statements, like which were going to give conditions in the programming language. And these are sometimes very important things because when we are creating big projects, we are maximally focused on conditions. And in every project, the most important thing, or you can say the maximum important thing, or the maximum thing was created using these types of statements, these conditions. We created different types of logics for our program, different types of statements, different types of functions, and everything was going to use by these particular blocks. So let me just clear all of these things first. and just then open our particular debugger console, and then we are going to write it. Okay, so let me just open the debugger console here. Let me come again on logs. Okay. So here we are going to talk about first the if else statement. I think in the last class we talked about the particular ternary operators, and in the ternary operators you already see that how we are going to use to give conditions in a single line. But sometimes ternary operators is not properly work, because in ternary operator we need to write everything using the question mark and columns. But these are sometimes very tough, and it will be already also written in a single line. So it will make a little bit confusion here. So when we face these type of problems, we shift to particular, you can say, if else problems. Now, what is actually if else and how we are going to do this? So basically, I think all of you familiar with if else. If else is a conditional statement which was going to give different type of condition in your particular programming logic. So let's start with basic if else block and see how this works. So first of all, if else is going to do or give particular some type of results based on condition. So here I am going to make a basic if else block or a basic if else program which was going to tell me whether I need to go outside or whether I need to not go outside. So first of all, let's create some boolean variables which was going to check it. So right now I'm going to create a boolean variable here first. Okay, so let me just first create a boolean variable. And now this variable name is suppose not raining or anything, not raining. So now this boolean variable name is not raining. I'm going to pass it away. So I'm going to pass true here. So now I created a boolean variable not raining. And now how we are going to use the if else block in particular Apex programming language. After getting this boolean variable, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write a simple if statement, and let's see what was going to happen. So first of all, let's just try to write this thing and see how this works. So first of all, for this if step, first of all you need to write if, and then after if you need to pass your condition. And how you're going to pass the condition, you need to do double brackets, and inside this double brackets you're going to pass your condition. So right now I'm going to pass a condition like if not raining is Control C. If not raining is false, if not equal to, here you can see I'm using equal to operator to match these values. I am checking if not raining equal to false, then I'm going to create a block of this. So if this condition is true, then we are going to do whatever written inside the if block. I'm going to here give a condition here block, and for making a block you need to write a curly braces. Here you are not required or not going to use a ternary, I'm sorry, alternator. After this condition you need to open a curly braces, and inside the curly braces you need to write the body of the else which was going to execute if this condition is satisfied. So I'm right now just giving a simple condition which will be system.debug, and then I'm going to print I'm going to outside, I'm going outside. Now this part is done here, and now if you try to execute this, first of all, what was going to happen? Let's see what was going to happen after the execution, and then we understand the part of this if. So let's click on the execute part. Here our execution is done, and now if I come on the debugger section, here you can see we are not able to see any output. Now why this was actually happen, let's see the code. So in the code we say if not raining equal to false, then this particular block was going to happen, but this block is actually true, so nothing was going to happen. So whenever you write a if block inside the condition is first going to check whether the condition meet or not. If the condition meet, the block will execute the body of the if, or you can say the block of if. Otherwise this body is not going to execute and program will outside of this case. Now if you just change from false to true, then we are going to see this part is going to work. So now this is true, and now this time if I click on execution part, we are able to see output. So the execution part is done here. And now if I click on debuggers only this time here I'm going to see the message I'm going outside. So this is simply how you're going to use a if block. Now suppose you have multiple conditions, like you don't have a single condition, you have more than 10 or 11 conditions which you need to use inside your if else block. So what you are going to do at that point? Okay, I think I have some messages. Okay. So after this, let's talk about when you have multiple conditions. So when we have multiple condition, what we are going to do, we are going to use our particular else block here. So how you are going to write your else block? So in this programming, we have two things. First is let's write a else block, and inside this else, whatever you write, if this condition is not satisfied, then this thing is going to happen. So inside this else, I'm going to just pass a message like, just simply pass here else, and then you need to open your brackets here. So actually else does not contain a body. Actually else does not contain a condition. Why? Because in else you can see if this particular block, if block is not executed, then the else block will execute. So else actually does not contain any body. So you can just simply write else and then your code. Let me just make it look more better. Okay, wait a second. Okay, this will look more better. And here. Okay, so now this is else body here, and now I need to write for else code. So else here I'm going to print a simple statement system.debug else executed. Else executed. And here we need to terminate this line. And this time I'm again going to change this from true to false. And now if I click on execution part, let's see what happens. Now the execution part is done, and this time we change the value from true to false, and here we will get the message that else is executed. Now this is what happened when you have two conditions. Like when you have two conditions in a program which you want to execute. The first is a basic if condition, and the second is basic. Sir, many of you are not able to join the meeting due to invalid link or on XLR website. Let me just check it once again, Jen. Just give me a moment.
I'm resharing it, sir. I will just share it.
Okay, ma'am. So everyone, you will get a new link from this. You are able to join at the class. So this will be not a problem. Okay. So now here you can see, now you have these two blocks. Remember, now suppose what happened if you want to execute in your program. Now, what we are going to do. In this scenario, we have a block named else if. Now let's try to create one more variable and see what this variable is going to do. So right now I'm going to create one more variable here, which will be also Boolean type. So Boolean, and it was like is sunny, is sunny. And now is sunny is going to capture like false. Now what I want, I'm going to check these two conditions this time. But how I'm going to do this? Because I have only one condition. So here what you need to do, we are just simply going to create a new block named else if. Now instead of this else, I'm going to create a new block which is else if. For this, let me just first clear. No, I do not need to clear this. Okay. So here we are going to create a next thing, which will be, you can say, a nested if block, or you can say nested else if block. So in Apex programming language, we have else if. Now, if you have multiple conditions than two, then you are going to use if, then else if, and then else. In the else if, you pass your second condition, which you want to check if the first condition fails. Now, how we are going to do this? So after writing if, what you are going to do? You are going to write your else if condition. And else if condition is basically simple. So first of all, you need to write else, and then after space, you need to write if, and inside a bracket, you need to pass your condition which you want to check. So the first time I'm checking if not training equal to false. Now this time I'm going to check the second statement. Now inside this else if I'm going to check if is sunny equal to true. Control C here, and I'm going to check if is sunny equal to false. So if this statement successfully, then I want to execute a new part of a block, which will be the else if block. Now here you can see this is the else if block. So let's just make it more look better. Okay, now this is good. And now here we need to write the body of the else if. So here I'm going to print a simple message system.debug, and this time I want to print something else. So system.debug, and here we are going to print I am going to outside. Like if not running is equal to false, then I'm not going outside. So we are just going to copy this line actually, and I'm going to put a not only here. So let me just put I am not going outside. Okay, now this part is done. Now this is what going to happen. See, in this program, when you write this, first let's see execution and see what happened. When we previously executed, we execute the else part, and here you can see this is the else part actually. So now if I click on execution part here, okay, we are getting a problem on line 7, column 17. Method does not exist or incorrect signature. Okay, so line number 7. Okay, here we are going to get, okay, so this actually, I make a spelling mistake. System did debug. Okay. Now let's try to execute this. Now our program was executed this again, and let's see the output what we are going to get. So here you can see I am not going outside. We are going to execute this part. So whenever you write a if block, remember, after writing if block, what was actually going to happen? Here you can see everything will be different. But if this else if is going to execute, then nothing is going to execute after this. Means this else was terminated and program was not going to execute this else if. So this is how you are going to write your if else block. And in the if else block, you have three things. First, you have a simple if block where you are going to pass only one condition. Then if you have two conditions, you are going to use else block, which actually does not require any condition, and it will execute if the if block is failed. After this, you have the second thing, which is else if, and now else if is also going to take a condition. So if you have a program which was going to take two conditions, then you need to write this else if and you need to pass your value. And if this else if is also not going to execute, at that time this else was going to execute. And this is how you are simply going to make your if else block. Now let me just share this code to all of you. And I think now everyone is clear with how we are going to use the if else block. Does anyone have any doubt regarding? Sir, can we use Python like elif statement? No. See, every programming language has their own way of writing. You are not going to write the syntax of Java in C and not going to write the syntax of C in C++. The same way you are not going to write the syntax of Python in Apex. So this is the basic thing you need to understand, that you are not going to write the programs. Let's wait a second. Actually, just spent somewhere. Okay, now this is good. Okay, so the same way you are not going to write the code of Python in Apex. Python is different and Apex is different. Now after this thing, let's come to the next thing and talk about the next statement. Suppose after if else, we have the next thing is the control flow, or you can say the switch and break statement. Now what is this switch statement actually? So the same way if else, switch is also going to work in the same way. But switch has some more compatibility with if else in some type of function where you need to switch on a specific condition. For example, if you want to create a greeting message like we did yesterday, where we greet message using ternary operator. So if you want to do this, you need to write multiple switch if else statement where you need to give multiple else and if. But it will be look more easier when you use the switch when state, and it is very useful sometimes. Now before jumping to switch, I need to ask all of you, do you guys are clear with the if else statement? Does anyone have any doubt regarding this if else? If you have any doubt, you can ask in the chat box. Otherwise, I'm going to move forward to the next thing. Okay, I think no one of you having a doubt on the if else. Okay, so now the next thing which we are going to see is a switch when statement. Now, what is actually a switch when statement? So basically, switch when statement is going to switch according to your condition. So here we have two keywords. When you explain again, okay. So here, let's come to the next thing before going to this. So let me tell you again this what was happening here in this code. We created first two variables, two Boolean variables. First is not raining, the second is sunny. And we passed two Boolean values here. First is true and the second is false. Now in the first statement, you need to write your if here. And this is how you're going to write the block of if, condition block. And after this here, this was going to the body. Here I'm going to pass a command to all of you and I'm going to send this to all of you. So it was easy for you. So how you're going to write, first you need to write if, and inside this you need to write your condition like this, condition, and after this it will come your body of it, and this is your body of the block. If you have one condition or you have more than one condition or two conditions, you're going to use else. Then you come else if. Then here comes the condition of else if, and this is the condition of else if. And now here comes your body, and this execute only execute if the first condition fails. Okay. After this, what you have next? You have the last thing is that else if. After this else if, you can create multiple else if after this. If you have three condition, you just again need to write a condition. You need to write
Actually, I just got disconnected.
is everyone able to hear me right now?
Yeah, yes, sir, you're audible now.
Okay. Actually, sorry for the inconvenience. Actually, I just disconnected due to some reason. I just don't know. Let's resume the class from where we left. Let me just share it again. Okay, so now you are able to see here what it's look like. So first, if comes here the condition, then body of if, then here comes else if, condition of else if, and this body was only executed if first condition failed. Now after this come the next thing is your else if you want a third condition. So if you want more than two or three condition, you can pass these three things else if also, and inside this else if you are going to give your next condition. Now, this condition was only going to execute when this condition fails. Means if the first and second condition fails, then this was going to execute. And suppose you are making a program where you think your all condition fails, then you need to create the last statement, which will be else. And this else having no body, and this was going to execute this part if nothing was going to work. If all codes, if all you can say the problems, or if all of condition fails, then this block will execute. Then else works. Now this is how your simple if else block was going to work, and this is a basic way for writing your particular if else. So let me just share these things to all of you. Okay, so this is the thing. Control C. Let me just send in the chat box to all of you. Is break statement used to exit? Yeah, break statement is not used to exit. It was used to break the flow of a particular conditional statements. We can use break and continue to break the flow of a particular loop. So break statement was basically used in conditional loops. Actually, we use break statement multiple use. I'm in loops. Now let's go to the next thing, and now we are going to talk about the next statement, which will be our switch when statement. Now when we are going to switch when statement, switch when statement is same as if else, but there is some difference between switch and statements and if statement. So suppose when you have multiple conditions, at that time switch when statement is not like very much work properly, and sometimes it will become very lengthy. Also, if you have not too complex conditions, you are not going to should use if else statement because it needs multiple conditions. Instead of we simply use switch condition because switch when is simple to understand and it was very used. So let's try to make a program which we make yesterday using the So let's make a program which we just make yesterday where we just created a greeting message using the ternary operator. Where what we did actually where we use a ternary operator to greet a particular person according to the time. So this time we are going to do the same task with the switch and when statement, and let's see what was going to happen. So in this condition I want if time is you can say less than 12, then it was going to wish us good morning. So if time is between less than or you can say between 0 to 12, it was going to give us wish good morning. The next thing I want if the time is between the next thing I want if time is between 12 to 5, like suppose 12 to 17, which you can say which will be basically 5, 12 to 17, it was going to wish good afternoon. And the third thing I want that if time is between 17 to 24, it was going to wish us good evening. So these are the three conditions we need to follow to create this particular program and try to understand this switch when statement. Now, switch when statement is not that much tough. So let's try to make our program and see how this was going to work. So first of all, we need to create a variable or an integer which was going to take the current time which we need to specify. And if you remember in the last class, I used the dot now method of time to get the correct time. But right now I'm not going to use that method. I'm just going to create a simple variable which was going to store a number which I am assuming as time. So let's create a new variable here named integer and name is like something x, and this x is going to store suppose 8. Now we have created a variable x which integer x which was going to store 8. Now our time is here to create our conditions here using the switch and state. So how this switch works? So for the syntax of switch, first of all you need to write switch, then the next thing. So first of all I need to write switch here, switch on. So you need to use the switch on to use this syntax. Now switch on what? We need to switch on the particular variable or the switch on condition. So switch on x means we are switching on x, and after this we need to pass our variable, means right now we are checking x. So switch on x, and here we need to write the condition. So after writing switch on x, you need to open this parenthesis, or here you need to write your particular condition that what was going to happen. Inside this I'm going to write a when block. Like the same way you write if after else, the same way inside switch you need to use the when, because without the when switch is not going to work. So after this I'm going to here give the condition. So here what is the condition? That when time is, suppose when the time is between 0 to suppose we are talking about 12. So I'm saying that if the time is between 0 to 12, I'm going to wish good morning. So 0. So let me just pass a condition 0, 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 4, comma 5, comma 6, comma 7, comma 8, comma 9, comma 10, comma 11, comma 12. And now this is done. So what I'm going to say is switch on X means it was going to switch on X if when, and here what it was going to check, it was going to check when 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 to this condition, means it was going to check the first condition. So if the first condition made this, then this was going to execute the body of this when. And now what is the body of this when? So after you writing your condition here, when is will be your condition. So after writing your condition, you need to open parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis you need to write the body of this when. And now here I want to print system.debug. Here we need to print good morning. So good morning. Okay, so now this part is done, system.good morning. Now after this, what we want, we need to write our next condition. So how we are going to write our next condition? So if you're trying to write our next condition, you just need to outside of the first when, and here we need to going to create one more when statement. Remember, you are not going to outside of the switch statement. You just need to outside of the when statement, and you need to create your next statement. Now when after 12, we want after between if time is between 12 to 17, we are going to wish good afternoon. So actually this will be only 11 actually. So here I am going to make the new condition if 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Now if this particular condition satisfied, then what was going to happen? We are coming to this when body and we are going to print good afternoon. So copy this line, paste it here, and instead of good morning, we are going to print good afternoon. Afternoon. Okay, now we have done two parts here. Now I have one more part here which will be say 17 to 24. If the time is between 17 to 24, we need to do this thing also. Means we need to wish good evening. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this line here, this when body, control C, and I'm going to create getting outside of this one and create a new one. And now in this one, I'm going to specify if the time is between 17 to 24. So removing from here 17, let me just write it 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And here we need to just write the body actually, just give this one. Okay. So when here is the body word. Okay, this is done. Okay, so this will be the body of this. This will be the body of this one. Okay. And here I need to remove this statement. Okay, now our code was actually done. Now here you can see we created three types of when statement. The first statement is going to count between 0 to 11 and check if x meets this value, then it was going to reach this. Okay, now let's try to execute this and see what was going to happen. So now if I click on execution part, our execution part was here done. And if we click on the debugger section, here we are going to get good morning this time because we give a value of an integer x is equal to 8. And that's why we are going to get good morning. Now if I try to change the value from 8 to 14, now this time I'm going to wish good afternoon. So if I click again on execution this part, now code was executed here, and here you can see if I come again on the debugger section, it was going to wish me good afternoon. Now this is how a simple switch when statement works. Let me tell you again and try to explain everything what we did here. So the syntax, first we created an integer x which was going to store a value 40, and here we have switch statement. So the switch in syntax is first you need to write switch on, which is the syntax of switch, and then you need to pass a variable which was going to switch. So we need to pass this variable, means this variable was going to check for the condition. After this, you need to open a bracket, and inside this bracket, you need to pass multiple vens. And these vens are actually the conditions which was going to check. Here you see when I write when, and here I give a value like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And these are the my conditions. If this x meet these conditions, then the block of this or the body of first when was going to execute. If this was not going to work, then the body of second one going to work. And then if this not work, then the body of the last one is going to work. Now let me just send this all of this code to all of you. And right now I'm going to ask all of you, how many of you think, does anyone have any problem in the switch when statement? Anyone? We can get examples like vote eligibility. Okay, anyone please say for what this Apex code is used? See, Apex, what this particular Apex code is used for, or anything where we use this switch case in real time. See, switch case, I'm going to give you a very perfect example. I think everyone already use the AIs or artificial intelligence, or the, you can say, the Alexa, Siri, and other things. Now you see, when you ask something to Siri, Siri was going to give you an answer. Suppose I ask Siri, what is the right time and what should I do after eating? So Siri has a switch when statement also. In this switch, he need to switch on a particular variable, and it has multiple when statements. In everyone, there may be a condition. Like there may be a condition like, if I done eating, then I need to do this. If I don't done this eating, then I need to do this. If I already eat too much, then what I need to do this. If I eat a very low quantity of food, then what I need to do this. So you can use these things on these type of application. So you can remember, you need to think where you are going to use this switch when statement. And this is a very perfect example where you use this switch when statement in an actual AI assistant or anything else. ATM also is an example. Yeah, ATM is also an example of switch cases. If you give the different type of amount, like if you need to give this amount, then it was going for this transaction. If you click on withdraw, then it was going to the withdraw function. If you click on the balance inquiry, then it was going to go to the balance inquiry function. Like this. I think many of you already understand where we are going to use this switch and state. Now, after this switch when statement, let's talk to the next thing. Now, first of all, before going to the switch when statement, I need to ask all of you a question. How many of you are able to tell me what is the basic difference between switch when statement and if else? Because I think everyone sees the part of switch when and if else. Now, I need to ask all of you, what is the basic difference between switch when statement and if else part? Can anyone able to tell me? Does anyone have any answer? Does anyone have any answer why we, what is the base if else is concise? Okay, one is where else switch is not. Okay, one answer. Okay, okay, I have some good answers from the switch when statement, and this is very good. Yeah, this is the first best answer. We can directly go to the specific condition and switch. Yeah, this is the right answer. Okay, very good. So I get a very good answers from all of you. Now, after this, let's go to the next thing or the next important part we are going to cover here, which is actually in programming as loops. So we are going to talk about right now loops, like what is actually loop in programming language. Now, if we are going to talk about loop in Apex programming language, we also have loops. Now, someone was also thinking why we are not studying break statement. Remember, break statement was going to use in the loop. So we are going to talk about the break statement in the loop section. So now, first of all, we need to understand what is actually do while loop in Apex programming language. So before going on do while, I need to ask all of you a question. How many of you know what is actually do while loop? Okay, how many of you know about do while loop for more than? Okay, so basically, let me start talking about the loops in the Apex programming language from the start. So in Apex programming language, we have three types of loop. The first is do while loop, then we have while loop, and the last we have a for loop. Now, what is actually a do while loop in Apex programming language? So let me just clear this all code from here first. Now, we have three types of loop in Apex programming language. And depend on our use, we are going to use every loop. So the first loop in Apex programming we have is the do while loop. Do while loop. Now, at its name clear, do while means this was going to do first, and then it was going to insert the loop. Now means whatever condition you pass, it was not going to check for the condition first. It was going to execute the body of the loop first. In do while loop, what we actually do, we first write the body of the program, or you can say body of loop, and after this we are going to write the condition. So body of the loop, and then we write the condition of the loop. So either your condition is wrong or right, the body is going to execute at least one. So body executes at least once. Now, there are some positions or some conditions where we need this block at least. For example, you created some type of operations or functions in a real life application where you want whatever the condition is going to happen and whatever the scene is going to happen, you need to execute the body at least once. So body going to execute at least one time. Either the condition is wrong or right. And in the end, we write actually the, you can say, the condition of the loop. So this is how the do while loop actually look like. Now let me just show you the syntax of do while loop in Apex programming language. So if you talk about the syntax of Apex programming do while loop in Apex, first of all here what you need to write, let me just come here. You need to write do, and after this do, what is the next thing? If you see here, body of the loop. The second part is this, that you need to write the body of the loop. Now how you are going to write the body? So you are going not actually use any other brackets, directly parenthesis, and here you need to write the body of the loop. What code you want to execute if your particular condition is going to true. So this is actually your body of the loop here. After this, here you need to write the condition. After this, closing this bracket, remember this closing the parenthesis, here you need to write while, and here comes your condition part. And here you need to write your condition which is going to execute in your particular program. So this is how actually a do while loop. So if you see a program was executed in a hierarchical order, means it was going to execute from top to bottom. So either your condition is true or either your condition is false. The body is going to execute it at least once, because first the body will come and then comes the next thing. So this is the basic way of writing the do while. Let me just write here comment body of the loop, body of the loops. Okay, let me just send you this code here for do while. Then we are going to see some examples of do whiles, like how we are going to use do while loops in programming. It executes it until the statement is false. When condition is false, until while condition. Yeah. Okay, everyone get a very good answers. Okay, now let's come to the see some examples of do while loop, that how we are going to use a do while loop. So let me just make all of this actually a comment. Okay, so now just let's see a simple do while example where we are going to print some basic things. So right now I'm going to print a number from 1 to 3, and let's see how we are going to print a number from 1 to 3, 1 to 10, or from a range of number. So how we are going to do this? For this we have two ways. Either you can use system.debug 10 times and you print from number 1 to 3, or either we just simply created a loop which was going to do this for us. So first of all, for doing this, we need an integer which was going to do our task. So here I'm going to create a value integer now, integer I. And remember, I need to print from number from 1 to 10. So initial value of I will be 1. If you want to print the numbers from 1 to 0 to 10, then you need to specify the initial value. So right now I want to print from 1 to 10. That's why I'm writing here 1. Now after creating my particular integer, I need to write my do while loop. So here I need to write do, and here comes my body of this code. Now in this particular scenario, I need to give the condition which is going to print the number from 10 times. So how we are going to do this? So this is very simple. First of all, here we need to actually print the particular system.debug this I. What we actually need to print? We need to print this I here. So this is simple. Now after this, every part is done. Now if I come here I need to write while. So here I need going to write while, and here I need to pass the condition. And the condition is that this number is going to print till 10. So here comes bracket, well, I is greater than or equal to 10. Now here guys, there was a mistake in this particular program. How many of you are able to find this mistake? Before finding the mistake, let's try to execute this program. and see what was going to happen. So if I click on execute highlighted, here you see this time actually this was stuck here. Do you see guys this? It was stuck and it was not going any further. How many of you are able to find the mistake at this point? At that particular program, I make a simple mistake. Yes, very good. Rahul Shravani, you make a very good. Rahul, Ratik, Amrit, 3% give the very good answer. Increment. We actually don't give an increment and it will stuck in an infinite loop, and that's why we are not able to see our result, because this particular program was continuously executing and we are not able to see our result. Now if I click on exit, here you see we get an error here. And what is this error? If I zoom this, here you can see system limit exception apex CPU time limit exceed, means we exceeded the time of the execution. And why this was happening? See, everything was right here, but we actually don't do an increment. So I will be continuously printing here. I is equal to already 1. I will never reach 10 because we actually don't say any time that I should increase. So what here I need to do? I need to increase the I. So I have two ways. I need to write this I plus plus. Now, many of you think, what is this I plus plus actually here? So instead of writing I plus plus, what I need to do, I'm just simply going to write this. I equal to I plus 1. Let me just write this for you. I equal to I plus 1. Okay. So now let me tell you what was actually happening here. So first see it, this is integer I is equal to 1. So what was going to happen? First it will come to our do while loop, in the compiler come to do while loop, and here it will say it need to print the system.debug I. So what it was going to do? First it was going to print I. Then it will come to the second line, and here what it was going to happen? Here we say that I is equal to I plus 1. Now we just change the value of I. So this time I will become 2 because I is already 1, and here we plusing I plus 1 is equal to 2. So now I will become 2. We are just rendering the value or overriding the value. So this time I will become 2, and now after exiting this body, here it will check the condition. So right now I is not smaller than or equal to 10. So it will the execution, this condition met successfully. So it will again go to the body of the loop. Then again it was going to print I. Now this time I will change from 1 to 2 because here you can see this 2. Now again 2 was going to print here. And now this time again what we are going to do? We are again I plus 1. So here comes 2, and now we are going to add 2 plus 1, which will be 3. And again it was checking the condition, again it was 2. Then this body was executing till I become 11. So when I become 11, so 11 is not less than or equal to 10. And at that time our loop was done, and we just exit from the loop. So now this time if I click on execution here, you can see if you click on the debugger section, here we are able to print from 1 to 10. Now I think everyone understand what was going to happen. Now instead of writing this I is equal to I plus 1, I think this will make everyone understand. You also write I plus plus plus, which will be an increment operator. And this particular thing was going to do the same task which was doing this particular line. And that's why we are always using increment operator, because it saves a lot of memory in the computer. Because here you see we created an assignment operator, we created an addition operator, then we are adding and passing a variable, overwriting. So here we are doing multiple things. But when you do this, you just make a lot of space in the CPU during the execution, and it will save microsecond of execution. Everyone now thinking this microsecond will actually not matter. But when you are working on big programs, this microseconds is very useful. So you can use these things to print numbers like this from 1 to 10. Now, let me just send this code to all of you. And now we are going to see how we are going to print from 9, 10 to 1. Now, how we are going to print from 10 to 1? Like this first time, we simply print from 1 to 10. Now the next time I'm going to see how we are able to print from 10 to 1, because this is the next part. So now this is not a tough thing. So here again we need to print I, but this time I'm going to change the initial value, because remember from where we want to print, we want to print from 10. So I is equal to 10 and system.debug it was going to print I. Now this time we actually going to decrement the value, because remember we are going on the descending order from 10 to 9. So here in the place of plus plus, what we are going to do, we are just simply going to put minus minus, and either you write I minus 1 or you just simply write I minus minus. Both are going to same work. And now here you can see what we say, I is less than or equal to 10. Now this time we are not going to do this. we are going to change this value to 1, and now what we are going to check, I is either greater than or equal to 1. Now this is done. Now what was happening this program? First, it will come on this line, system.debug I. It will print 10. Then it will come to the next line. Here, I will be right now 10. And this, he will say 10 minus 1, which will be 9. And when it will come to condition, now 9 is already greater than or equal to 1. So this condition satisfied, and then it was executing again. It was execute until I is equal to 1. And when I becomes 0, then 0 is not actual greater than or equal to 1. And our program will end. So you can see just by changing three things, we make a program which was going to print a number from opposite side. So now if I click on execute this time, our execution was done. And now if I click on here you can see actually executable debug section. Here you can see this time we are only going to get 10 answer. We actually not able to print from 10 to 9. Means somehow our condition was actually here break. Can anyone tell me what is the wrong thing I am making here? Here I make again a small mistake. Is anyone able to identify what is the mistake I am making this time? Here I make again a very small mistake. Can anyone able to tell me what is the small mistake I make? Very good. In place of greater than, you need to keep less than. Okay. Now see, sometimes you need to focus on the smallest logic, but see, if I do the same thing, again I'm going to get the same error. This time what I said, I will do the same thing which you said. Okay, actually not. Okay, now this is done. Now here comes our main thing. Now our program was executed because the mistake which we are making here is this sign, the smaller than sign, which is wrong. Now this is the greater than sign, and we just did this part where I is equal to greater than or 1. And when you did this, you are able to print from 10 to 1. Now let's see a new example where we want to print a number from only even number. Means this time we only want to print numbers which was even. So here we are going to print only even number this time. So how many of you have any idea how I'm going to print only even number this time? We need to make a simple logic. Anyone else? Okay, two students give the right answer. Anyone else? Okay, so this time what we are going to do, we are going to combine our particular if else condition in our particular programming logic. Okay, I equal to 2. Very good. So here what we are going to do, we are going to combine our if else logic in this particular programming language. So remember what we need to do here, we need to set the initial value of I first. So this time we want that I is going to print all the even numbers from 1 to 10. So first of all, I need to be a value. So I will start from 1, or you can specify 0, because I am going to check from 1. So my integer was just simply created here. Now come the main part, which is the body of the loop. Now what we are going to write inside this body this time. So the body is simply the way, or you can say in this body, we are going to write the logic here. Now here I'm going to add this if block inside this do while. So let me add this. Actually it was 1. So here I need to write the if condition. So let me just remove this line, and here I'm going to write the if condition if. And now inside if I need to pass the condition. Now I want to print even number. So remember, if a number is divisible by 2, or if a number module means if you divide a number and you get a remember 0, then that means that number is divisible by 2. So if I is percentile, where we go this sign, now this is the modules, and it was going to return you a value. If I divide by this 2, what we are going to get, we are going to get 0 this time. So if I divide by this equal to 0 here, so here equal to 0, and now this was going to check, means either this number is going to divide by 2, and if this condition satisfies, if it becomes 0, means that the particular number is divisible by 0. Then what was going to happen, we need to print system.debug I. So let's just print here writing here system.debug, and here we need to write the body of the if, which will be system. Let me just make it big. System.debug, and here I need to print I this time. Now after this, my I will going to be print here. Now after this, we again need to increment our value, otherwise again we are going to get an infinite accretion, or we are going to get ourselves in an infinite accretion error. Now this program is done, and now if we execute this, we are going to get our result. Just make a little bit change here where I is actually greater than or equal to 10. So now let's try to execute this part and see what we are going. So now if I click here execution, here you can see found punctuation symbol or operator this, that is invalid in Apex. Now in Apex programming language, you actually, this value or this modular value is invalid. So you can think in Apex programming language is a little bit different from other programming language. So you are not able to use this thing. Now, can anyone tell me, is there any other condition I'm going to do this, so this condition will satisfy? Remember here I'm going to pass a comment that this sign is invalid in Apex programming language. Invalid. Okay, I will get to one to more answer. Anyone else? Only two people give me the right answers. Anyone else? Okay. So actually we have more one thing. Either by using this, we have a math class in particular Apex programming language. What we have a math class in Apex programming language, and we are going to use that math class. So instead of doing this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to call that method or call that function, that is math.mod. Now this math.mod is a function which was found in Apex class, and this function is very useful sometimes because this is a mod function which is going to give the same result which we are getting through this modulus function. So math.mod function. Now what this function is going to do? So basically this function is going to return the mod of a value which you are going to pass. And it was going to take two parameters. The first parameter is the basic parameter which you are going to test for this mod. So math.mod, and here I need to give the bracket. The first number is I, and then we need to pass the second number which we are checking. So first is I, and now I need to pass the second number. Now here we need to write our second number, which will be we are checking. So we are checking from 2. So now this math.mod is going to give us the mod of this thing, which actually this value was going to get. But this is invalid, so we are going to use this math.mod function instead of this equal to, or you can say percentile operator. Now this is going to work properly. Now let's try to execute this and see what has happened. Now our program was executed successfully, and now if I click on debugger section, here you see we are only able to print all the even numbers from 1 to 10. So remember, if you get stuck at this point, we are using this math.mod. Now let me just tell you what is this math.mod. Math is actually a class, and .mod is basically a function in this math class. And this class was going to take two parameters. Here it was taking two parameters. First is the parameter, the number, which you want to know the modulus from the number which is called divisible. So first thing, I will be the number which you want to check, and the second thing is the number which you want to show, or which we want to check the modulus for that number. So here we want to check the modulus for I, and here we want to check the modulus of 2. And when we done this, we are able to print all the even numbers from 1 to 10. Now let me send this code to all of you, and just try to save this and see the result. Okay. Now after these three things, how to get input from the user. Actually in Apex programming language, we are not able to take inputs. In Apex programming language, we are actually not able to take inputs. See, in the first class, I think I already told you. Just give me a second, guys. I need to just drink water. Okay, see, in Apex programming language, we are not able to use the input function like in other programming language. because Apex is a server-side language. Remember, what is Apex? It was a server-side language. If you see in the from the starting, you are not actually installed any software for writing Apex programming code. We just simply using server-side. It was a server-side programming language. You are open a website, and in this website you open a debugger console, and here you are using this all things. So Apex is actually a server-side programming language, which means it runs on Salesforce server rather than directly on the client side. So in simple terms, if I tell you, if this thing is not actually running on your particular system, it was running on the client side, or I mean on the server side. This is the basic reason Apex does not support input. Now, what is the basic thing between the server side and client side? I think everyone knows. So if you ever have this question, remember Apex does not support the input function because it was actually a server side language, which means in simple terms, it was running on the Salesforce servers, not on your actual machine or physical machine. So it was an actual client server model, which was working on a server, and you are a client which were using the service of this thing. Not, it was actually not working on your physical device. That's why you are not able to use the functionality of this thing. Okay. Now the next thing, okay, in place of greater than. Now the next thing we are going to see is retrieving. I think everyone was familiar with how to retrieve data from different data types. Like first thing, we are going to retrieve data from the different other things. This time, I am going to check retrieve data from the set, map, or key. Now, because we have already know about these data types, and the real use of loops was to retrieve the data from the map or to give or insert data inside the map. So first of all, we are going to see some examples of set and list where we are going to retrieve, and also we are going to fit data using the while loops. Now, how we are going to do these things? See, these things are also not very tough. It was also very easy to put these things. So first I'm going to start with list. So first of all, I'm going to retrieve all the elements from a list and try to print using a do while loop. So how I'm going to do this? For this, first of all, I need to create a list this time. So let me just copy this thing code and send it to all of you. Control C, and then we are going to start the next thing. Okay, I think I already sent this thing. So let me just remove this, and now this time I'm going to create a list here which was going to store some data, and now we are going to retrieve all the item of the list using a particular loop or do while. So this list, it was going to store a string type of data, a string, and just name it like new strings. Okay, so I just created a list which was named as new strings, and it was going to store only strings type of data. Now I need to create a new instance of this new keyword which was going to create new instance, and then we just need to write the data type of the list again. So Control C. Here we are going to paste this thing, and here I'm going to pass some value here this time. So I need to give some value like anything or any string value. So right now I'm just passing three string values. So let me just pass apple. Just give me a mango. Second string, and let me pass one more, carrot. So now I just created, wait a second, actually this is a mistake. Okay, so now I created a list with three variables which was right now stored and three names. And now what I want to retrieve all the data from this list using a particular do while loop. So how I'm going to do this? So this is not actually tough. It was also very easy. First of all, let's terminate this line, and we need to create an integer which was going to use for retrieving this. So first I'm going to create an integer I, and initially I'm going to put a value for this I. But this time, if you are seeing, I'm going to retrieve these things, so I'm going to put 0 here. Now integer I is going to store 0 this time value, and this was used for counting. Now after this, how we are going to print this thing? So if you remember, we actually using a function in the list, if you remember, to get the size of the list. So what we are going to do, first we are going to know the size of the list. We are going to pass this thing inside this, and then we are going to use the index to access every element single by single. Now let's try to make this code, and then it will make more sense. So here first I will need to write the body of the code, which will be do here do, and here we need to write the body of the code. So we need to print actually the system dot debug, and here I need to print what? And here comes the main part which I need to print. So here I actually need to print the new strings. I want to print the element of new strings. So I'm copying here new strings, and here let's come the main part. Here see I'm copy this new string, and here I'm passing a thing. Now if you see what I'm doing, why I created this integer this time. So what I'm going to do, I'm just getting the index value of these things, the 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Because if you remember why I start 0, because indexing start from 0 and 1, 2. I'm going to get this index value. I'm going to store this index value in this I, and then through this I'm going to print this thing, because you already know that we are able to print an element using an index in a list element. So what we are going to do, we created a integer value I which was going to get or retrieve all the index from a list, and then we use that index to print the particular element. So this is simple and this is done. Now let's come to the next part, which is just increment of this thing. Here we need to increment our particular program, which will be I plus plus. So here we just simply write then plus plus, and I think everyone now familiar that I plus plus is equal to actual I 1 plus 1. Now after this the main part come here. What is the body of this loop actually? So here we need to write the body, which will be while, and here the body comes. Now in this body we need to pass a condition which is going to satisfy. Now what is the condition? So if you remember what I told you in the starting, that this I is actually storing the size of this particular list. So this I is actually smaller than or equal to or greater than the size. So we want that this I is actually smaller than, or you can say the size, means I is already needed to be smaller than size. Means when the size will exist or increase, then this program will abort it. So now I'm saying I should be smaller. Now after this, what I need to do, I need to write this particular thing, dot new string. Now this I'm going to copy this I is smaller than new string. And if you remember correctly in the list, when you are studying about list, we study a method name or a function in list class which will be dot size, which was going to return an integer value which is the size of a particular list. Now this part is done where I is less than new string dot size, means I is always needed to be smaller, and here actually I need to pass this bracket. So this method is done here, and here the termination part come down. Now our particular program is done, and now if I click on here execute, let's see what we are going to get. Let's click on execution part and see. Now our execution part is done here, and let's see what we are going to get. Now if I click on debugger only, here you can see we are going to get apple, mango and carrot. We are already get all of these value here, because here this part is actually done. And here we say that new string size will be less than 0, because size will already be 3. Because if I just call this method here, let me just show why it was showing 6. Because someone thinking that how indexing will start from 0, so the size will be 2. No, size is actually 3, but the indexing will start from 0. Let me show you this thing here. So if I just print, and here I print a system.debug, and inside this if I just print this function, now you are able to see what is the size of this particular thing. Now come again on the debugger section again, and here you can see we are going to get the size. Indexing will start from 0, but the size is actually 3. So size will always a greater than. So if you count from indexing, indexing is always less than one number to the size. So that's why here I am putting this condition that I should be smaller than the size. Because size if is 4, then the total value inside, then the last index will be 4. If I size is 10, then the last index will be 9. So that's why we are using this thing. I is either less than to the, smaller than new string dot size. So when I reached 2, our code was executed and we able to print all these things. Now this is simple. This is actually a little bit simple. We just simply need to write the program. Now how we are going to actually put some element in a list using a do while loop. Now this will become a little bit interesting, because this time we actually fetching a data from a particular data type or a collection, which will be list. Now this time what was going to happen if I just want to put some value inside a list. Now how many of you have any idea how I'm going to put some data inside a list? Like if I want to state, suppose numbers from 1 to 100 in a list, how I'm going to insert it? Does anyone have any idea which function I'm going to use? Dot add. Okay, we are going to use dot add function. Yeah, that is good. So let's try to see how we are going to add 100 numbers in a list. For this, guys, this is also one of the most simplest example and nothing more. Here we just need to change something and it will work properly. So let me just clear all these things. And this time what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create this list as an empty list. Now in the first time this list is actually storing something, but this time I'm just going to make this list empty. So now I have a list which is empty and which is actually right now not storing anything. So the value of in this list is right now null. Now I need to store here some value. So how I'm going to store some value here? For storing some value here, first of all, I need to put from where I want to store. So I want to store a number from 1 to 100. So integer, the initial value which I want to start storing, which will be 1. And actually I make a mistake here. I'm not passing. So remember, if you're not passing anything in a list or you want to make empty, you're not going to use parenthesis bracket. You're not going to use only this curly brackets. Okay. Now I is equal to 1 here. And now after this, I need to write the body of do, which was going to do the actual work. Now here comes the logic. Yeah, add I. I know, guys, add I. We are going to use the add I function. Now here what we are going to do, a simple thing, a very simple thing. Here just we need to write new string, control C. Here we come, dot add, and here I just need to write I, and this is done. Now what is the next thing I need to do? I also want to print the result, so I'm not going to print this time. I'm going to print the result outside. After this, I need to write the condition here. So condition will be very simple, while bracket. Now I want to print till 100, so I will be either less than, greater than, or equal to 100. So I will be either greater than or equal to 100, and this is done. Now here just we are going to print the list to system dot debug and just trying to print this new string. Now this time see, this program is going to actually throw an error. Can anyone tell me, before I am going to execute this, I want all of you to answer me why this program is going to throw an error. See, this program actually there was a very small mistake in this program again. Can anyone identify why this program was going to throw an error? Let me just zoom it a little bit to all of you. This program, if I execute this time, it was going to give me an error. Does anyone know why I'm going to get an error in this program? Very good. Okay, I think we get two good answers. In this program, we have two things missing. First, the increment. If we don't put the increment here, it was going to an infinite loop. And the second thing is the type of the list. The type of list is right now as a string, and we are actually storing an integer value. So it was going to give an error. So here we need to pass integer value, integer here, and then this was going to work. Now let's try to execute this and see what was going to happen. Now this time our code was executed successfully, and if we click on the debuggers only this time, here you see we are able to print this, but here you can see it was going to put dot dot dot, means it was going to tell 100. So we are able to do these things also completely. Now do while loop was actually completed, and now I think everyone is familiar with how we are going to use the do while loop in your particular programs and in your logic. Okay, now after this thing, let's go to the next loop in our programming, and this is actually while loop. Now, if in the do while loop, you see what we actually did here. In while loop, we are actually creating, or we are actually first writing our program, writing the body, and then we are writing our code. But what is actually a while loop? in while loop we are not doing this thing. In while loop we are doing something else. Here we are not actually writing our program. Sorry, just give me a second. See, in while loop, in do while loop, what we are doing? We are first writing the body and then the condition. Then we modified this thing because sometimes we find that this is a little bit tough. So what we did, we created while loop. Now in while loop, what we did, we first give condition and then we give the body. So how this while loop actually look? So first we need to write while, and after writing while, we need to write our condition or pass our condition which we want to test. So after while here we need to pass our condition, and after this condition here string string data type Nitin has the string data type. What does it mean by string data type actually? Okay, so here first we need to put our condition here and while loop. This will be going to our condition. So while loop is first going to check our condition, and according to the condition, it was going to give us the result, or you can say the output. So here you need to write your particular body of while loop. Is everyone able to hear me right now? Let me just see. We got some message here actually. Okay, so while, and then we have the condition and the body. Now in while loop, our body was actually not going to execute once, it was directly going to execute after checking the condition. So if the condition is right, then we are going to do this thing, otherwise it was wrong. So now let's try to print a number from 1 to 10 again in the while loop and see how this actually while loop works. So for printing a number in while loop, what we need to do, first here we have the while, and here in this part we need to give the condition. Now, this time the condition is not different. The condition is always going to be the same, which will be while I is greater than or equal to 10. So this is our condition which was going to check. So first it was going to check our condition, and inside this we are going to write our body, which will be system.debug, and here we are just simply going to print I. After this we just simply increment the value of I, which will be I plus plus. And now this is done. Now, how many of you think if I run this code, I'm not going to get any error? How many of you think if I run this code, I'm not going to get any error? Wait a second. Actually, those who are thinking if I'm going to get error for this, let me correct. Now, how many of you think I'm going to get an error or not going to get an error if I run this program? Okay, not for this also. Very good. Initialize I. Because here, see, if we run this code, we are going to actually get an error because the initialization. Here you can see variable does not exist I. So we actually don't actually initialize I. And this is a problem in do and while loop. Do while loop and while loop. If you are using while and do while loop in Apex programming language, whatever variable you are going to use inside the loop, you need to initialize the variable before initializing the loop. So you are not going to initialize the variables in the particular loop. Sometimes this functionality was come with Python where you can initialize the variable directly in the loop, but in while and do while loop, you are not able to do this in Apex programming language. But this problem will be short in for loop. So when we are using for loop, you are able to do this thing. So you are able to initialize that particular thing in the particular for loop. So here, first of all, I need to initialize I, which will be an integer, and here I, and I should be this time 0. Terminate this line and try to execute this. Now here is the execution part done. Now this time we are going to, already we know about loops, so this time we are going to do something else. Now here we actually do two things, but this time I want to do something new. Suppose I want to insert some values in a particular, let me first give you a question, and I want all of you to think about and give me a solution, what the solution should be. So suppose you have a college and you are in a school And in a school, you are going to get some information like this, that there will be student like 100 students. And every student has a unique code name and a ID number. So the code name will start from, suppose the school name will be XLR, and this will be a unique name. So say this is actually a unique name, XLR A1, and it will start from XLR A1 and it will go to XLR AN. So it will go till from XLR A1 to XLR AN. Now it will go from A1 to AN. Now the same way, the unique name, they have a ID value or ID card number, like from 1001 to it will go to 100N. Now you have a task, and the task is you need to put all these values inside a map using while loop. Means this time you need to pass two values. First is actually a string value, and the second is actually a map value in the particular map data type, where first you need to create a map data type, and then you are going to use a while loop to put these two values from, suppose, ranging from 10. So you need to put 10 string values which will be start from XLR A1 to XLR A10, and then you need to put 10 ID numbers from 1001 to 10010. Now, how many of you think you are able to find the right solution for this particular question? I just want a basic solution. I actually don't want a code from all of you. I want a basic solution. Can anyone give a reply? Let me see. Okay, someone also. Okay. So I want a basic solution. I just want how you are going to do this. Okay, anyone can give, okay, one answer. Those who want to send answer, please send on the personal chat. Okay, one answer. Okay, two answer. There was a guy give, okay, one person gave a right answer. Okay, anyone else who are going to give? Anyone else? Remember, you need to give the same XLRA, not anything else. You need to put the value XLRA, nothing else. Remember, the value should be XLRA 100K. What that is mean by 100K actually? Actually, I don't guys able to understand what I'm saying. You need to put the key and the value. Remember, the value will be here as the task. The putting key is actually not the task. The task is putting value here. You need to put the value which will be XLR A1 to XLR A10 actually. Okay, one person give the right answer. Let me see who is this person. Okay, very good. Rola Shroni. Okay, so Rola Shroni gave me a right answer. One person gave a right answer. Anyone else? Okay, very good. So some people give, only 1 to 2 people give the right answer, and not any other person are able to give the right answer. So now let's try to see this, how we are going to do this particular code. So first of all, for this I need to create a map data type, which map data type is going to store all these maps. And I'm going to try to store all these values here. Sir, no break. No. We will keep the key as I01 and then start a loop in condition. Yeah, you can do that. I understand. But the question is here, you are also need to fill here a value. What you need to fill here? You need to change this XLRA. In the value section was also going to be put using the loop. You are not going to put manually the value. The value is also going inside the loop using the loop also. So let's try to make this program first and see how this is going to work. So in while loop, this will be a little bit tough, you can say problem, which we are going to check. So first of all, how we are going to do this? So first of all, I need to create a body of, first of all, I need to create a map data type. So now I'm going to create a map data type, which was going to store two things, if you remember, map, and this map is going to store two values. The first is an integer, which is going to be a key, and the second thing is a string value, which will be going to store the values here. So now we created a map named string integer, and we are name it accounts. Now this task is done. Now we have created a map having a name integer and then having a string account. Now after this, we need to name our map, which we already did, and here we need to create. So using the new keyword new, just copy this line here and create an empty map. Control V. Now we created an empty map which was going. Wait a second. This. Okay. So we created an empty map which was right now storing nothing. So now here just simply close this. And now comes the main part. Now here I'm going to create an integer which was actually going to store the key value. So integer and name it anything like key value. And now what is this key value is going to store? So it was going to store the initial value of key, which will be 1001, because we want the key will be start from this point. So key value should be this. After this, the next thing will come. Now, after this, we need to create a one more variable, or you can say an index variable, which was going to use for XLR A1, XLR A2, XLR A3, and XLR A4. Like this, we need to create an index variable. So for this, I'm going to create an integer again, integer this time again, and it was going to store index value for the particular string. So control will be integer, and it will be index value for our particular XLR. So index value will be, and it will not actually XLR. Remember, it will not actually XLR. It will be actually 1, because it will be an index value. Because here I want that the X, it will start from XLR 1 to go to XLR 10. So index value 1. Here it will be index value 1, and here we need to put a terminator. So this line will be terminated simply. After this, we have done our two parts here. Now comes the main part, or the body of the loop, where we are going to write our program, which was going to put the values inside this. So first of all, here we need to write our program. So while, and here we need to give the condition first here. So while we have the key value, our variable name, so while key value, and here we need to pass from where to where we want. So right now I want from, it will start from 1101 to it will, why index value is not initialized? It was actually initialized to 1. So here you can see, while key is actually, we need to say from where we want to store. So I want to store from till 10 number. So I am going to use where key value is greater than or equal to, basically you can say like it will be like 1001 to going to till 10. So control C here, let's paste this number, and it was going till 10. So now this part is done. So while key value is greater than or equal to this part, so the value will start from 1001 to 10010. Now we have make our key part first done. So this program is going to execute from this to this here. Now here we need to make our body of the loop. Now in this body, the main part coming here, and here we need to write the body of the code. Now here we are going to do two things. First, we are going to make a string value which was going to store inside this. So right now here we are going to create a string value first. Inside this while loop, we are going to initialize a new type of key which will be string. So here I am going to create a new variable inside this while body. Remember what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a string which will be known as value, and this string was going to store something. Now what this string was going to actually store thing, this store in string was going to store two things, and here we are going to perform concatenation using the, if you remember, the XLR addition operation. So here what I did, first I put XLR in the single quote, so it was a string, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use plus sign to perform a concatenation here, plus, and here this plus will, what is was going to, it was going to store this index value. So what was actually happening, if you remember, when we use system.debug this, we actually perform cat concatenation. So XLR will be always read from 1, and then XLR, actually it will be XLR A, so XLR A and then the index value. So first index value will come from 1. So XLR A then index value, XLR B, XLR A then index value 2, XLR A then index value 3. And it was going when till this reached to this key. When the key reached to this point, this particular program was stopped executing and our code was actually done. After this, we have done our this part here. Now we need to put these things inside the map. So how we are going to put these things in the map? Now for this, we have a method name. If you remember, can anyone guys remember which method we are using to put values in the map? If you remember correctly, we are using a method named put. Yes, very good. So we are going to use that method to put all these values inside the particular map value. So here we need to write call our method, which will be accounts dot put, and this method is going to take two parameters. If you remember correctly, in the last class we talked about that the first parameter is always a key and the second is value. So here if you see, first I need to write this key value, which will be my first parameter, key, wait a second, key value here, key value. After this, here you can say account dot put key value, and the next thing will be our value. Now after this is actually going to put here. Don't remember, you are not going to put this index value. See, in map we use put because we are putting two values. In other program, in string and other things, we use add. These are the put and add, that will be same. See, here we are using, actually it will be kept at accounts dot put. So accounts dot put was going to put the key value, and remember, when you passing the second thing, you need to pass this value, not this index value actually, because you are actually storing the value. This index value was actually used for concatenation to this XLR A to XLR 10. Now here we have done this two parts things. Now our program was maximally done. Now comes the next thing, which will be the increment of our program. Now here we need to increment, and what we need to increment? We need to increment this key value actually. So here we need to write key value, and it will be plus plus. Now this part is done and our program was completely done here. And here we just simply need to write now increment this. Now can anyone tell me, is this going to work properly? No, because here you can see first time I just increment this key value, but I don't increment this index value. So this index value was continuously doing. So it will be also need to increment. Otherwise we are already getting XLR A1 always. So here we also need to increment this index value. So copy this line index value and paste it here. Now this is our part of programming done, where we increment these two things. Now those who are thinking why we are server side, but when asking user data in real, see it was a actually CRM software. Let me just see your question. Just complete this, then I'm going to give your answer. So let me just complete this program, and I'm going to explain you the things which you are asking. So here you see first we have key value, and then we have index value plus 1. We are incrementing this index value. If we don't increment this index value, then XLR1 will be always XLR A1 and it will not actually work. So now after this we just simply need to print the map. So after this I'm going to write here a function system.debug, and here we need to print our map, which will be this account. Copy this line and let's try to execute this program and see what we are going to get. So now if I click on execution part, okay, we are going to get an error on line 13. Okay, so line 13 actually I'm going to get an error. Let me just check it again. Unrecognized system symbol dot, where it will be a dot. Actually, I'm not able to see any dot this time. On line, oh sorry, actually don't put here a terminator. Thank you very much. Actually, I think there will be some other mistake. Let me just see this again. Just let me see this code again once again. What is the problem here? Value in 10 line, a string value will be, oh wait a second guys, what are you saying? Value in 10 line. Wait a second, counts dot put. Hey, what is the wrong thing here? Just let's see. Wait a second, I just need to execute this. Line 3, column 3, unrecognized symbol, column 12. Okay, I'm getting this error. Just give me a second, I need to recheck. I think there will be a small mistake where I just need to see. Okay, wait a second. Maybe this will be key value. Okay, and the value. Let's try to execute this time. Okay, there will be a problem. Line 3, actually, this is the problem. Okay, so we are going to get this problem due to this code actually. No, we are going to get, see, we are actually getting problem due to this line, and I'm actually not seeing this thing. We are going to get this problem this due to this line because this was actually not recognized. Okay, now this is done. Now try to execute. Now our execution is actually done, and let's click on the debugger section here. And here you are able to see that we are able to do our task completely. Here in the debugger section, you see now we are able to print 101, then we have XLR A1, then XLR A2, and the same way we did to XLR 10. Now after this guys, this was also not a very tough thing. But what happened if I tell you that we created, why not we created a list, and in that list we give 10 names, or we created a string. We created a set which some, suppose a set which has some names which will be not duplicated, so a set with 10 names, and then you implement a map using a map keyword, using a map, using a loop. You are going to pass the value of the set in the map as a value, and the value of list as the value in map. I think you are guys able to do this, to passing the value of a set in a map collection as key, or the passing the value of a list in a map as a value. How many of you think this is possible? And this will be one of very good examples for this particular type of loops. See, these examples are very example, because when you start studying DSA, you see these are the actual questions or actual solutions of any problem, because these are actually insertion types and other types of sorting techniques and searching types and insertion techniques mainly, where you need to put these two things. So we have one more example how we are going to do this. I need to just think about this. I need to pass a set value as key in a map, set value as key in a map, as key in map, and the next thing I need to put is list value as value in a map. Now means we need to create first two data types, a set and a list. And then we are going to put these value, means set value as key in the map and the list value as value in the map using a while loop. So do you think is this possible? Okay. So do you know what is the logic behind this thing? Does anyone know what is the logic we are going to write for this code? So let me just give this question in the chat box also. So can anyone tell me what is the logic we need to write for this? Because see, everything is going to same using indexing, okay? But if you remember correctly, in set we don't have actually index value. If you remember correctly, in set we don't have use index value because set is an unordered collection of data. So you can use indexing for list, but you are not going to use. I don't get the question. So the question is, Jayan, that you have three data types. The first is you have a set data type. Suppose set data type, and inside this set data type you have integer name. Suppose you have names, or suppose you don't have name, you actually have integer value, which is roll number of 10 students. Now after this you have a list data type which have a value of 10 student names, which will be anything. Now what is your task? What I want to tell, you are going to use a loop, a while loop, to put these data, to put the set data, a set and list data in a map. Now using a loop map, where here comes the condition, where set data should be, where set data should be key and list should be value. So this is what the question I am asking, should be key and list should be your value. Okay, and list should be your value. So this is what you need to do using a loop. Now how many of you think now you are able to do this? I'm not asking about are you are able to do this. I'm just asking, do you think is there any way to do this, or what is the logic if you want to write a program as a developer? See, when you are actually working with as a software developer or SD and the Salesforce platform, you need to think about crucial things. So this is the questions which was actually going to ask in the interview. In the interview, the exam programmer or examiner is not going to ask you that how you are going to put data in the while, how you are going to print even number, odd numbers. No, he was going to ask you complicated questions, like if you have two collection, how you are going to put the data of the two collection in the third collection using a particular loop. He was going to ask to recurse a string to print all the string name letters or characters in a sequence. So this will be a question which will be a very high chance that it will be asked to you in an exam, in a job interview, or in a coding interview. So I'm just asking anyone, does anyone have any idea what should be the logic we need to write for this type of program? A logic like, what do you think? Not a program, just thinking about your logic. Anything. Okay, let's see how many of you give the answer. Okay. Okay, Khushi gave answer. I guess it should be a index value. Okay. One answer. Anyone else? So see, now I'm going to do this, retrieve the value and store the value in a variable, and using put method we are, okay, so, okay, that's a good answer also. So let's try to do this program and see how we are going to do this. This is a very simple. When we are done this, you are thinking how this is that much simple. So let me just give you a quick overview. Actually, I'm not going to solve this thing from here. I'm just going to give you how we are going to do this thing. So first of all, you need to create a set. Step one, you need to create a set. And the second thing, you need to create a list. I'm just writing the algorithm for this particular Salute program. And if you are able to do this, it was a very, you see, let me just give you the level of this question. it will be a on level 3 or you can say level 2 question which will be asked in DSAs, or it was a lead code question on level, I think it will be 600 question. You will get these type of questions when you get on a position of like 600 and 500, and it was a DSA question actually. It was an insertion type of questions in DSA. So it was a basic insertion question in DSA which will be very popular. So now what you need to do, first we are going to create a set, then we are going to create a list. After this, the comes to the third part. Now in third part, what we are going to do, we are going to create now a map, because actually we are going to store everything inside a map. So first you need to create three things: a set, a list, and the third thing, map. Now remember, you need to pass the value already in the set and list. So the set and list is not empty. The map is only going to be empty because the set and list is going to store numbers and data, where the map is not going to store anything. Now comes the for logic or for part of the program, where we need initialize the integer for the set. So we are going to initialize the integer for the set roll number. So here you need to iterate all the values from the roll number to a particular, you can say, integer. Now, after initializing this, suppose you are going to create a integer. Let me just break this thing how we are going to do. So you need to create a basic iterator, which was going to iterate all the values from the set of a roll number, and you need to put this all thing inside a particular integer. And then you are going to use that integer to put your data inside the map. For this, you can use a class, or you can say a method, which was found in integer class, which will be a iterator method. Iterator method, you can use this method iterator. It was be very useful to iterate the value of this thing. So iterator is a method in integer class which was very useful. You can use this particular value using a dot value. For this, what you need to do, you need to write first iterate variable name and then dot iterator. So here comes your variable name, variable dot iterator. Let me just show you how you are going to do this part, so you are not going to stuck if you try this. So how you are going to do this, suppose you created these settings: set, list, a map, where set is full, a list is set and list is full, and the map is have nothing. But now what you are going to do, the next thing, you are going to initialize an iterator for the set. So we are going to now initialize the iterator. So how you are going to do this, first of all you need to write here a iterator. So I am writing here iterator. Okay, and now what this iterator is going to do, now this iterator is actually going to store something. Let me just see. Okay, actually the spelling is wrong. Iterator. Okay, let me, now what this iterator was going to do, this iterator was going to store integers type of value. And iterator is basically a data type, you can see, which was going to iterate or going to feed all data, and it was going to store in it. So iterator is nothing, it was just a simple, you can say, a data type same like the map and collection, which was going to store integer value. So here we are going to create a iterator which was going to store all these value inside this, and it is iterator is the integer type for this set, because we are actually feeding or getting the data of the set. So here we created an iterator which will be a type of integer, and this is going to get all the iterators from the set. So iterator equal to, now what this iterator was going to store, it was going to store the keys of or all the value of set. So for this, if you remember, we have a function name set.iterator. So if you write set.iterator here, if you write set.iterator, it was going to iterate all the values of a set. Actually, the spelling is actually again right. Okay, spelling will be, you can check the spelling. So set.iterator is a function which was going to take all the sets or all the values of a set or put inside this particular iterator variable. And this is how you are going to put everything inside this thing. Now this will be very, remember here the set name is the set value of your, or the set name of your data. Let me just tell you clearly this thing once again. So here the first you need to create an iterator which will be integer type, and after this you need to name this, name anything like what will be your name, the name of this iterator, then set.iterator. Now this set will be the name of the set which you created, and here you need to write dot iterator function, so you are able to iterate all the value set.iterator and this double parenthesis, and it was going to get iterate all the values of set and put inside this name variable, which is the integer type of data. And this is you are going to use to put all the values or all the roll number in a map as a key. After this, what you are going to do, you are going to create an integer I equal to 0. Okay, so we are going to create an integer here, I is equal to 0. Now this integer is actually used for indexing. Does anyone have any doubt till this point? Those, if you have guys any doubt till this point, just ask me before this, so I'll move to the next part. Does anyone have any doubt? Does anyone have any doubt till this point? Okay, so I think many of you don't understand the iterator part actually. See, actually why we are creating iterator first, let's understand. Here you see apex inside set is an unordered collection first. First we have list or set. So we are simply able to put all the element of list in the map using the index value. But set is actually an unordered collection. So we are not able to put everything of the set value in a map directly. So what we are going to do, we are not able to access the element by index. So what we are going to do? So set are designed to be like iterated over using a iterator. So set is basically a data type or data collection. In Apex programming language, we created an iterator for set. So iterator is a suppose that a plugin tool, like in Chrome browser, you have different type of extension which we use for different type of purpose. The same way for sets we have iterator which was used for iterating its value or getting all the value of the sets inside it. So here what we are actually doing, we are going to create a iterator for the set. And this iterator was actually a data type which was going to store the element of set, and it has actually an index. So first we created an iterator of integer type and then just name the iterator, whatever the name you want to give. After this, you need to name your set name. Remember, first you need to create an iterator, integer type, because it was going to store all the numbers. Then you need to name the iterator. After this, you need to call the function set.iterator. Remember here set is the name of your set which you created. Now after this, the iterator method. What does dot iterator method do? So iterator method does provide a iterator object which allow you to traverse through a set one element in a time. So it was basically elementing or retrieving every element in a single time. Now why we are doing so, set in Apex is actually does not allow you to directly access element by index. For example, if you want to access element like 0, you are actually not able to access it. So therefore what we are going to use, we are going to use this iterator to provide a way to get the next element in a set one by one. So what this iterator was going to do, it was going to retrieve every data in a set one by one. So first we are going to get a data from set in this iterator, and then we use this iterator to put that data inside the particular map. It was like that you have a very big truck, and in that particular very big truck, there are many types of bags which was thrown in unordered. So you don't know how you are going to do. So what you did, you go and ask for a particular person's. What they are going to do is they are going to put that bag outside of, make it in a proper order, and then they are going to send in the factory. So same way, a trader is working here as a middle person who was going to first take element from the set, and then he was going to send the element to the particular factory. So this is how the iterator is here working. Now, does anyone have here any questions? And after this, the second thing you see, what is the role or second after this integer I is equal to 0. So here I is equal to 0 is work as a list index. So here we are using this I for list actually. So here does not work for this, I is actually work for index. Does anyone have any question till this point? Now I think you guys understand why we are using iterator here. Sir, iterator is a language specific like only for Apex. Uh, I don't think so because I'm using iterator for Apex actually more. See, every programming has their own language specific. Now I have a question to all of you. Sir, is indentation is important in Apex code? Actually, no. Actually, Apex does not work for indentation. But if you put indentation, it will make your code look more better. So indentation is actually not important. If I just move all of these here, it will going to work again properly. But if you put indentation in your code is going to look more beautiful and it will be more readable, more usable. So indentation is not that much important in Apex. Any other question? Now guys, this is a question or task for you. You need to do this. I will already do this main part. This is the main part where we created this iterator. And now you're going to use this name for putting the value inside this map. You already know you're going to use this list index value to put the value inside the map. And you are going to use this name to put the value inside this map. Does anyone have any question till this point? Okay. Have a good day, all of you. Let's meet on Monday. And on Monday, we are going to see about the new things, the remaining part of the loop, the remaining part of switch break statement. And then we are going to jump the most important part of any programming language, which will be the OOPS concept, because Apex is also a OOP based programming language. So from Monday onwards, we are going to see the OOPS concepts here. Okay, I'm just sending the code here. Okay, so the first code is where we just printing two values in a map using a while loop, and the second is the question for you. I think I will get the code also. Sir, what compiler are you using? I'm actually not using a compiler, I'm using the debugger console. Apex is a server-side programming language, Surya Darshini. So we are actually not using any compiler. We are using the server side. If you want to code in VS Code, you also need to authorize to the developer console or the app Salesforce org. Then you are able to execute your code. Otherwise, you are not able to execute your program. I think none of you have any questions. So this is all for today. Shishmita ma'am, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir. So yes, sir, like today and day after tomorrow, we don't have a session. We will be connecting once again on Monday. So students, as you all know, please don't join the session by tomorrow, like tomorrow and day after tomorrow. We'll be connecting again on Monday. So we will wind up for the day. Attendance link has been shared in the chat. Kindly mark your attendance. As you all know, 60% of attendance is very mandatory. Kindly mark your attendance without any fail. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable class. We'll meet again on Monday.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you all. Have a great day.